Hi, green lovers. Today is the 15th of March, 2020, and it's a really cold, rainy day outside. I was planning to do a whole bunch of planting this weekend, but looks like that was not to be. So instead, I am going to be doing some seed starting and I'm going to be doing some uppotting of my existing seedlings. Now, I'm a relatively new gardener. I started gardening in earnest only about a year ago. And there are some things that I wish I knew at the time that I started gardening. So that's what I'm hoping that my channel will share with you, is some of those things that seasoned gardeners have forgotten. The challenges that some of the early gardeners face. So I will bring those to you as and when I encounter them. But today it's about how I can start a lot of seedlings without having to start them in these little trays, one seedling per tray kind of thing. This is a two-step process, but it optimizes your indoor grow space because you can start a lot of seedlings and not occupy a lot of space. And the second benefit of doing it the way that I'm going to show you is that you can be guaranteed that the plant that you're planting in the starter tray is a plant and not a dud seed. So let's go ahead and get started. The method that I'm going to be talking to you about is called pricking up seedlings, and I learned about it from an awesome gardener that I believe everyone should follow and learn from, and his name is Charles Dowding. Look up his channel. But this method called pricking up involves starting a lot of seeds in a small container like this. So these are kales. And kales have very small seeds. They look like this. These are actually mustard seeds, and I use it in my cooking. But kale seeds and a lot of the brassicas look very similar. So they're really tiny, and getting like one or two in each of these starter pods is kind of hard. It's so much easier to just dump a bunch of them in here. And what I do typically is I take a pinch, and I actually counted these for you guys. There's approximately 30 plants in here. So one pinch is about 30 seeds, and I just sort of spread it evenly, almost like I'm sowing for microgreens. And then I let it sprout. And then before it gets its second set of leaves, I prick them out and I plant them into the starter trays. So this is really all you need to do. You need something to dig it out of this. I use a blunt knife. You need a pencil, which you're going to make little holes in each of the starter tray cells, and then don't forget your labels. That's really important. The soil that I've used for this is actually potting mix. I mixed in a little bit of my homegrown worm compost, and so you should not be using seed starter mix because that is sterile, no nutrients. So I use potting soil because that's got a little bit more nutrition in it, and of course my worm compost is nutrition gold for plants. So this is all it is, guys. It's as easy as this. Take off this label, and you're going to dig out a few seedlings. Go carefully all the way to the bottom, and you dig out a clump like that. Okay? There's a couple more over here. Whoa! Look at those roots, guys. Just look at the roots that develop under these little tiny seedlings. It's something to remember that when it feels like your seedling is taking forever to sprout, remember that the first thing that they're doing is developing an amazing root system. And so that's where a lot of the energy goes. And so I've got two plants here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to plant, there's 9 cells in this. So I'm going to make 9 holes. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom. And I packed these in a little bit so it's nice and firm and it'll hold the seed nicely. And then don't be afraid to plant a little bit deeper in these cells. So this is all you need to do, is kind of push that root inside. And I usually plant it a little bit deeper, a little bit deeper than it was in its original cell. And that's it. That really is all that it takes. These seedlings at this stage are much hardier then when they've grown their second set of leaves, they can actually handle a lot of mistreatment. As long as you don't break the stem, if you break a little bit of the root, that's okay. It will survive. It's got very little plant to support, so it is much sturdier than the bigger seedlings that have just so much more on top of the soil that they need to support. So breaking off the roots, takes away from the nutrition that gets sent to the leaves above. So they are much more delicate, and transplant shock is more when the seedlings are bigger. And that's why it's so much easier and so much nicer to plant it at this stage. Plus, you know that your seed has germinated. Now, I'm planting them in these 9-cell packs, guys, mainly because I am actually going to be taking this to a plant sale that we've got at work, and I'm going to be selling them like this in 9 packs. So that's why I'm doing this. But what you can do is you can put it in a much bigger cell, a little cup, maybe something like this. That way it can sit in there longer, because this will need to be planted up again. Or what I would do from something of this size is I'd wait for it to grow a few leaves, and then I would plant it straight in my backyard. I wouldn't pot it up one more time. So that really is all that it takes. You can see how easy this is. I've not been focusing because I've been talking at the same time, so it's taken me a little bit longer, but really that's what it looks like, guys. And these plants, pretty much guaranteed all of them will survive. So that is what's called pricking up, and it's one of the best ways I have found to try to grow a lot of seedlings and then transplant them with success. So I'm all done, guys. I planted 27 plants altogether, and I lied about 30 plants. There were actually about 42 plants in this cell. So you can see how many plants I got out of just this one small cell. You can use this method for any kind of plant practically. I use it for tomatoes, I use it for eggplant, peppers, lettuce, all kinds of flowers. It works for a lot of different things. So I really hope you try this method, and I hope you learned something new from this beginner gardener. That's all for this episode, and until next time, live green and love your greens.